Welcome everyone, the brave ones hungry for debates. And as I just mentioned, we will try to review a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so, okay. Well, I guess that you don't know the definition of object. You can say accept, then the debate is over. So yeah, the first answer is the reason is not established. Okay, then it follows that you know the definition of, what was it, object.
Accept
Accept, was it?
that which is known by an awareness.
Yeah, it follows that the subject, that which is known by an awareness, is the definition of object.
Accept.
Okay, very good. And it follows, you know, the definition of one or singular, yeah, one.
Accept
Yes, was it?
that which is not diverse.
Okay.
A phenomenon that is not diverse.
Okay, very good. Yeah, a phenomenon which is not diverse. It follows that the subject, a phenomenon which is not diverse, is the definition of one.
Accept.
Okay, then it follows that you know the definition of different. Accept.
Accept.
Yes. Okay, more people, yeah, to help. Okay, so opposite. What is the definition of different?
Diverse phenomena.
Okay, it follows that the subject diverse phenomena is the definition of different.
Accept.
Okay, so it follows that you know the difference between, so among contradictory, equivalent, 3P and 4P, so the different types of comparisons. Among them, between object and different from existent. Object and different from existent.
Maybe 3P.
3P for Chaviji. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then who would say contradictory, equivalent, 4P? Or maybe we try to trust. Yeah, we'll trust Chaviji. Yeah. He's very clever, very smart. Okay. Okay, Chaviji, it follows then okay, 3P. So it follows that you can posit a common base, yeah, something which is both object and different from existent.
Oh, different from existent. Object and different from existent is a any non-existent object. But it cannot be a example.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you remember if we said that an object is equivalent with existent? Yeah. Yeah. If it's an object, if it's known by an awareness, it is observed by valid cognition. Yeah. Yeah, and if it is observed by valid cognition, it is known by an awareness. Yeah, so if it is an object, it has to be existent, and if it exists, it has to be an object. Yeah, okay, and different. Yeah, different. As we said before, what is the definition?
Diverse phenomena.
Yes, exactly, and phenomenon is equivalent as well with object and existent. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Think.
For example, the subject, a pot.
Okay, the subject pot. It follows it is an object.
Accept.
It is an object because?
It's known by an awareness.
Yeah, okay, it follows that if it is known by an awareness, it's necessarily an object.
Accept.
Okay, then the subject pot is different from existent.
Accept.
It is different from existent because?
Because it's a diverse phenomena from existent.
Okay. Okay, it follows that if it is a diverse phenomenon from existent, it's necessarily different from existent.
Except.
Okay, so the subject pot exists while being different from existent, yeah? Everybody agrees? Okay. Okay, pot is a common base between object and different from existent. Yeah, very good. So then if we say 3P, can we posit the perversion? Yeah? If it is A, it's necessarily B, but if it's B, it's not necessarily A, between object and different from existent?
Something existent and not different from existent.
Yes. Object and different from existent. Which one pervades the other? Which one is the bigger category?
If it is an object, it's necessarily different from existent, but if it is different from existent, it's not necessarily an object.
Okay, who would go in Zigrun last club?
Good. This is-
Or who would go in the other type of perversion? Okay, let's try. Let's try to debate with Zingrula. So if it is an object, it's necessarily different from existent.
No, it's not actually because existent would be a contract. No,
That's
no, okay, it's not possible. Other way around, no.
the
Maybe,
other.
okay.
Let's try. Let's try. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, please make mistakes. We need mistakes in order to grow. Yeah. To make our intelligence grow. Yeah. Very good. Okay. So the other way around. Yeah. It follows that if it is different from existent, it's necessarily an object. But if it is an object, it's not necessarily different from existent.
Only existent is different from existent. No. No, how many is not.
So sorry for people who came a bit later, then just to recap, we are comparing object and different from existent, yeah? Yeah, welcome, Paliviji.
Any object, I guess, would because wait, be different from existent, not different from existent. I don't think there is any object.
That could be different from existent?
Mhm.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
I think it's 4P.
4P, okay. Then no need to ask for any perversion. Okay. Okay. 4P. Okay, everybody agrees? Or did you change your mind? You have the right to change your mind, yeah? Meanwhile. But if you stick to 3P, like Chaviji, if you stick to 3P, then I still need to ask the perversion. So you can choose 3P or 4P. 3P for Palaviji, yeah? Ah, 3P, okay. So opposite the perversion. We are still on the perversion, okay? So among object and different from existent, yeah? If it is this, it's necessarily that, but if it's that, it's not necessarily this. Yeah, so how should we posit it?
I think if it is different from pervasion,
From existent?
oh sorry, different from existent, it can be an object? No. And no, it's the opposite. If it is a object, it is not different from existent.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so then if we have the 3P, you remember we have a common base. So we had that, yeah, we had pot. Yeah, pot is different from existent. Still it exists, but it is not one with existent, yeah. It is different from existent, yeah. And
Yeah.
pot is an object, yeah, because it is known by an awareness, yeah. Yeah, c'est un moment-là?
Christophe, I think I got the pervasion.
Yes, please.
I think different from existent is necessarily an object, but object may not be different from existent.
So like this, yeah. If it is different from existent, it's necessarily an object. But if it is an object, it's not necessarily different from existent, yeah? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So if it is different from existent, it's necessarily an object, yeah? So could you posit, please, an illustration of different from existent, which is an object? Yeah, we had it, yeah, we had pot. So I don't need to ask it again. So
Yeah.
then could you posit an object which is not different from existent?
An existent object.
Yeah, so existent.
Existent.
Existent, yeah. It follows that the subject existent is an object. Yes. No, it's not.
Except,
Hanavila, you say no? Yeah,
except
yeah, accept, c'est un moment-là. It's necessarily an object because?
because it is known by an awareness.
Yes. And the subject known by an awareness is the definition of object, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, okay. It follows that the subject existent is an object, yeah, because it is known by an awareness.
Mhm.
Okay, very good. But the subject existent, it follows it is not different from existent.
Except
Yes, it is not because?
it is diverse than different from existent.
The subject existent, yeah, the subject existent, it follows because now we are checking something which is an object, but not different from existent, yeah. And
Okay.
we found existent, yeah. Existent
Yes.
is an object that is not different from existent, yeah.
Yeah.
It is not because?
Two things we are comparing. So it is okay. It
Yeah,
is. So it's not different from existent because
yes,
yeah, these two are two different things.
yes. We could say that you know, when we say existent on one side and existent on the other side, can our thought consciousness make a distinction? No, they are not diverse, yeah.
Not diverse.
Yeah, they are not. The subject existent is not diverse phenomenon from existent.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
one.
very good. It is one with existent.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so it follows that the subject existent is not different from existent.
Accept.
Yes, it is not because. Sorry for asking always the same question. It is the subject different. Sorry, the subject existent is not different from existent because.
Because it is one with existent.
Yes, perfect. It follows that if it is one with existent, it's necessarily not different from existent.
Yes, except
Wow, fantastic. So we had something which is A and B, object and different from existent. It was pot. Then we have object, which is, thank you, Darpanji. Thank you. See you later. Okay. Then we have object. If it is an object, it's not necessarily different from existent because existent itself is an object because they are equivalent, but is not different from existent, yeah? Okay, so it follows you can posit something which is none of them, object and different from existent.
horn of a rabbit.
Yeah, the subject horn of the rabbit, it follows it's not an object.
Except
It's
Oh,
not.
it is known by an awareness word.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, can you say that? It is not cognized, but I don't know. How
Yeah, yeah, because to be known by an awareness, yeah, it has to exist. Yeah, we cannot know a non-existent. We can know the fact that horned rabbit is not existent. Yeah, we can know that fact. Yeah, but we cannot know horned rabbit itself.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
because it doesn't exist. Yeah, we can know the concept of horned rabbit. Yeah, but only the concept. Yeah? Okay, very good. Very good. So the subject horned rabbit, it follows it is not an object because
Because it is not known by an awareness.
yes, it follows that if it is not known by an awareness, it's necessarily not an object.
Except.
Very good. And the subject horned rabbit, it follows it is not different from existent.
um, Except
Yes, it is not because
because it is not a phenomena.
yes, it follows that if it is not a phenomenon, it's necessarily not different from existent.
Except.
Yes, because to be different, it needs to be a diverse phenomenon. Yeah? And if it is not a phenomenon, it cannot be a diverse phenomenon. Yeah? Very good. So 3P between what and what?
Object and different from existent.
Very good. Yeah, 3P. Fantastic. Wow. Yes, Anavila.
Sorry, I thought it was 3P, but because 3P would have a pervasion, no?
Yes.
So what did we prove was the pervasion?
So the perversion would be who has an ID? Who has an ID? The perversion, if we say 3P, like for instance, 3P between red pot and pot, yeah. So it follows that if it is a red pot, it's necessarily pot. But if it is pot, it's not necessarily a red pot. It could be a blue pot, yeah. So here, if we have A and B object and different from existent, what would be the perversion?
If it is different from existent, it's necessarily an object, but if it is an object, it's not necessarily different from existent.
Exactly, perfect. That's exactly what we said just before, but it's good to think again.
Yeah, so 1 second. So we said if it is a part, it is not necessarily different from existent.
Oh, really?
No, that's not what we said.
But you missed the first part of the debate, so that's normal, yeah. Yeah, pot is at the same time is a common base between object and different from existent, yeah. It exists, still it is not one with existent. It is different from existent, yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah,
understand.
okay. Good. So if it is different from existent, it's necessarily an object, it's necessarily an existent. Yeah.
Yes.
But if it because different from existent is defined as a diverse phenomenon from existent, yeah? So it has to be a phenomenon, and phenomenon is equivalent with existent. And object, and known by an awareness, and so on. Okay. But if it is an object, it's not necessarily different from existent, because among all the phenomena, which one is the object, the existent, which is not different from existent?
Existent.
Okay. Very good. Existent is one with existent.
But it is not object.
It is an object because object and existent are equivalent. Yeah,
Oh,
usually
it's not. I thought maybe we're talking about generality then, because then generality is not an object. Existent is at
no.
the same level of generality, no?
A generality is not an object because
Um, generality is not an object because it is there. You won't see many instances of the same oh no, I do see many instances of the same generality. That's the definition of generality.
yeah. Yeah, so a generality and object, how many points? Ah,
No. And object.
generality and object, yeah? Among contractory equivalent 3P, 4P.
Generality of model.
It's like a TV show, you know, a game on TV, in a TV show.
For P. We had this before.
4P for
Yeah.
single singular, yeah? Between generality and object.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, 4P. And who would say, yes, I agree with Ingundar, maybe you have different answers.
For P.
4P as well. Very good. So 8P. Okay. 4 and 4. Hmm. Okay, so in both cases, it follows that you can posit a common base, yeah, something which is both, yeah, object and generality, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, posit
A pot.
pot. It follows that the subject pot is a generality.
Accept.
Is a generality because
Because there can be many instances of pot.
exactly if there are many instances of pot, pot is necessarily a generality.
Accept.
Good, and it follows that the subject pot is an object.
Accept.
It is because
Because it exists and
Yeah.
it is known by a subject.
Yes, yes, because it exists is a good reason as well, and known by an awareness is another good reason. So two reasons. Very good. Okay. 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 So 4P. So it follows that you can posit an object which is not a generality.
Yes, an instance of a cup, for example, a
Mhm.
red cup.
A red cup, it follows that the subject red cup is not a generality.
Accept.
Okay, it follows that the subject red cup, the red cup doesn't have many instances.
It does. An object which is not a generality. Oh, again, an object. Hmm.
That very cup which Christophe has.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
This cup is very famous now, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, it follows that this very cup here that I possess doesn't have many instances, yeah.
Yeah.
It
So,
does.
it does. Okay. Which are, for instance, yeah.
Yesterday's cup and today's cup.
Oh.
Exactly. Yeah, yesterday's red cup, today's red cup, and the red cup which is clean. Yeah, once in a while. This red cup which is not clean, this red cup which is in the kitchen, and so on. Yeah. Okay, very good. So this subject, this red cup that I possess, is necessarily a generality.
So can we
Mm.
say, Christophe's red cup, in this present moment?
Yeah, so Christophe's red cup in this present moment, which is observed by the Buddha Shakyamuni, which is observed by you. Yeah, yeah, we have 4 instances, 5 instances even. And 6 instances because I see it as well. Yeah? So which is observed by me, by Zingrunla, by Apollinala, by Japila, Chetamomola and Palamila, and Apollinala. Did I forget anyone? And the Buddha Shakyamuni. Yeah,
Why is that an instant?
yeah, because they are.
Why are those different instances? Sorry.
Mm, yeah, because this very cup at this moment now, which is observed by you, by me, and so on, are instances of that very cup at this very moment. No? Yeah, because for instance, we could say because on the first hand, it is a object condition of my eye consciousness. It is an object condition of your eye consciousness. Yeah, so this very cup which is here at this very moment is a condition, is a cause for different consciousnesses. Yeah. So those different causes of different consciousnesses are different, no? Different instances of that very cup at this moment. No?
Okay, so can we say Christopher's red cup in this present moment that is observed by my eye consciousness?
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't have many instances.
General.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because even if it is observed by your eye consciousness, yeah, it is still observed by different eye consciousnesses as well, yeah? Like mine, and it is an object of knowledge of an omniscient mind. So all the Buddhas, they observe that cup that is observed by your eye consciousness, no?
Say that again.
Yeah, we could say that that very cup, which is the object condition of your eye consciousness right now, is also observed by different Buddhas, all the omniscient minds. Yeah.
But not through my eye consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah, because all the Buddhas which are omniscient, they necessarily see things as we see them, no? So they would see the cup through your eye consciousness because they are omniscient.
Really?
Maybe yes. Yes, otherwise that would be a very weird type of omniscient. Yeah. If they don't know everything that happens in the universe. So all the Buddhas, they see what we see, yeah?
Yeah.
And they see the things how we see them, yeah. So that's why also the Buddhas, they see the conventional truth that we see, yeah, because they see our mind observing that, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Yeah. So yeah, otherwise if we say okay, that very cup at that very moment, yeah, at this partless moment, yeah, necessarily this partless moment doesn't have many instances, yeah, because it's just one moment and it's disappearing, yeah. But still, because it is as well observed by different omniscient minds, it is, yeah, it has many instances, yeah.
No,
Yeah,
then
it's
I get there is none.
okay. So do you remember when we compare? Yeah, Palavina, yeah, please.
Yes, I remember because I did my notes. When we compare instance, a set of pillar and pot is an instance,
Ah,
but it is not a generality
yes, it is not a generality because
because there is no other instance. There are not many other instances of pillar and pot.
exactly, yes. We could have said, the cup, which is the observed condition of my eye consciousness, and the cup, which is the observed condition of your eye consciousness, is the set of all that. Yeah, cannot be a generality, yeah. Like pot and pillar, yeah, exactly, yeah. Okay. Very good, yeah. We could have said one with that cup.
Mm.
Yeah,
Oh,
one with
Hmm.
that cup is necessarily not a generality because it has only instance that cup. Yeah, very good. But still it is an object, yeah. Okay, so the set pot and pillar, it follows it is an object.
Accept.
Yes, it is an object because
Because it can be known by an awareness.
exactly, it follows that if it is known by an awareness, it's necessarily an object.
Accept.
Okay, very good. So we have something which is A and B, yeah? Object and what was it? Generality, yeah? Then object and that which is not a generality. So it follows that if you posit 4P, you can posit a generality which is not an object.
Uh, oh,
Generality which is not an object.
Yeah, correct myself. I think there's not. I
Sorry.
think there's not such a thing
Ah, it doesn't exist because?
because generality is defined as a phenomenon that encompasses its manifestations, and phenomenon
Ah,
is synonymous equivalent with object.
yes. It follows that if it is a generality, it's necessarily a phenomenon.
Accept.
Okay. Okay, very good. And if it is a phenomenon, it's necessarily an object. Yeah,
Accept.
because they are equivalent, exactly. They're equivalent because they are different and they share the 8 doors of perversion. Yeah? If it is A, it's necessarily B. If it's B, it's necessarily A, and so on. Very good. Yeah, so yeah, it seems that there is no generality which is not an object. If it's a generality, it's necessarily an object. Yeah, it's necessarily a phenomenon. It necessarily exists. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay. And okay, it follows that you can posit something which is not an object and not a generality.
corn of a rabbit.
Yes. Yes, one of the rabbit, yeah, it doesn't exist, so it's not an object. If it is not an object, if it doesn't exist, it cannot be a generality either. Eh? Wow, fantastic. 3P. Wow, very good. Okay, so then we had different. Okay, let's try to keep on with different, maybe. So it follows that you can posit the definition of different from pot.
Phenomenon that is diverse from pot.
Exactly. It follows that the subject, a phenomenon which is diverse from pot, is necessarily the definition of different from pot.
Accept.
Okay. And okay, so it follows you can posit the difference between different from pot and different from pillar.
The relation, yeah.
Yes. Among contradictory equivalent 3P and 4P. Different from pot and different from pillar.
Or P.
4P. Yes. Who has 5? 6P. Okay, 4P. So it follows, Chaviji, you can posit an illustration of something which is both.
Accept.
Yes, posit.
Mango.
Mango, it follows that it is different from pot.
Accept.
It is different from pot because?
Because mango cannot be something which is bulbous and has a flat base and is able to hold water.
Yes, exactly. It follows that if it is okay, if it is not flat base, bulbous and flat base, able to hold water, it's necessarily not a pot.
Accept.
Okay, so it's necessarily different from pot.
Accept.
Okay, so it follows that horned rabbit is different from pot because it is not flat based, bulbous, and
or
able to
an
hold water.
phenomenon.
Yes, very good. Okay, so it follows that if it exists and it is not bulbous, flat base, able to hold water, it's necessarily different from pot.
Accept.
Okay, so we could have said, okay, because it exists and it is not one with pot, or we could have said also because it is contradictory with pot. Yeah, if it is contradictory with pot, it's necessarily different from pot. Yeah, very
Yes.
good. Okay, very good. Then, okay, so mango, it follows that it is different from pillar.
Accept.
Yeah, it is different from pillar because
Because it is not one with pillar and it is contradictory with pillar.
okay. So if we take the set of the two reasons, that works. Yeah? If we just take the first answer, okay. Yeah, if it is contradictory with pillar, it's necessarily different from pillar.
Accept.
Yes, because the definition of contradictory is
It exists and they're different.
okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And they
Yeah.
have no common locus.
Yes. Yes,
And
they
they
are.
have
Yeah, they are different and no common base. Yeah. Okay, very good. Very good. So mango is a common base between different from pot and different from pillar. Okay, so it follows you can posit something which is different from pot but not different from pillar. Yeah, easy.
pillar.
Pillar, it follows that the subject pillar is not different from pillar.
Accept.
It is not because.
Because it is one with pillar.
Yes, it follows that if it is one with pillar, it's necessarily not different from pillar. Okay, and the subject pillar is different from pot.
Accept.
Yes, it is different from pot because.
Because it is contradictory with pot.
Yes, it follows that if it is contradictory with pot, it's necessarily different from pot. Very good. Wow, fantastic. Okay, it follows that you can posit something which is not different from pot, but different from pillar.
Uh,
Which is different from pot
Which
and
is-
not different from pillar.
which is different from pillar, but not different from pot.
pot.
Pot, the subject pot, it follows. It is different from pillar.
Accept.
Yes, so the subject pot is not different from pot.
Accept.
Okay, it is not because.
It is one pot.
Yes, it follows that if it is one with pot, it's necessarily not different from pot.
Accept.
Okay, and it follows that if it is not different from pot, it's necessarily one with pot.
Accept.
Okay, so it follows that the subject blue horned rabbit.
No, but in one and different, we're already saying phenomena.
Yeah. Yeah, because if they are different, they necessarily exist, yeah? But if it is
Yes.
not different from pot, it may not exist, yeah? Yeah. Okay, so if it is not different, so if it is one with pot, it's necessarily not different from pot.
Mhm.
But if it is not different from pot, it's not necessarily one with pot. Yeah, because horned rabbit is not different from pot and is not one with pot either. Yeah?
Mhm. Okay.
So if we use the negation, it's more hazardous, yeah, so it's more dangerous. Yes, very good. So then it follows that you can posit something which is none of them, yeah, different from pot and different from pillar.
Horn of a rabbit.
Yes, the subject horned rabbit is not different from pot.
Accept.
Yeah, it is not because.
Because it does not exist.
Yes, it follows that if it doesn't exist, it cannot be different from pot.
Accept.
Yes, and the reason is the same with different from pillar, not different from pillar, yeah. So 4P, very good. Wow, fantastic. Fantastic, yeah. Okay, okay. So let's try with okay. Okay. It follows you can posit the definition of generality.
Except.
Yes. Posit.
It's a phenomenon that encompasses its manifestations.
It follows that the subject, a phenomenon which encompasses its manifestations, is the definition of generality.
Except.
Okay, and it follows you can posit the definition of cause.
Cause.
Except
Yes, posit.
produced. No,
No.
no.
Okay. Yeah, a cause is necessarily produced, but the produced is not the definition of cause, yeah?
Can we say that which functions to produce?
Yes, we could say so, yeah. It's a bit longer, but the shorter definition would be the producer, that which produces, yeah? Qui est je in Tibetan, yeah? Very good, yeah. Okay. A producer, we could say, or that which produces an effect, yeah? In brackets, an effect, yeah, but it's implicit, yeah? Okay, so it follows that the subject that which produces is the definition of cause.
Except.
Okay, so it follows you can posit the difference among contradictory equivalent 3P and 4P between cause and generality. Crunchy.
Cause and generality.
I see 3 fingers.
So.
Yes, Palavina, you say 3P, yeah? 4P? 3P? 4?
Yeah, 3.
3. Okay,
I think
sorry.
3.
Sorry.
um,
3.5. Okay, 3P. So prepare your perversion, yeah? She said 3P, yeah? In your mind, prepare your perversion. Oh, for the ruler. Wow. Next 7P. Mm.
I think I got the pervasion.
Ah, yeah, so 3P as well for you, Tsitamamula. Okay,
Yes.
so let's
Uh,
try.
generality is not cause can be a generality, but generality cannot be a cause.
Yeah, if we formulate like this, that's true, yeah. Generality is permanent. Oh, you remember the reasoning that we gave last time on Monday? I think it could be useful for everyone, yeah. So how do you say animal in Hindi?
Janwar.
Genre. So the gender or general is neutral, yeah? Neutral, yeah? Okay. But if it is a genre, it's not necessarily neutral. Yeah? It can be feminine or masculine, yeah? Yeah, you remember that reasoning? Okay. So, yes, we say that in French. Animal is masculine. Yeah, the name itself, animal, is masculine. But if it is animal, it's not necessarily masculine. Yeah, we could have a turtle. Turtle is feminine. Giraffe is feminine, and so on. Yeah. So that's why it depends on how we apprehend the phenomenon itself. Yeah, generality itself is permanent. Yeah, so it cannot be a cause. Yeah. But when we compare cause and generality, we are checking what is that? What can be that? Yeah. If it is a generality, is it necessarily a cause? If it is a cause, is it necessarily a generality? So that's the type of question that we should ask ourselves. Yeah. But you're right, Mola. Generality itself is necessarily not a cause because it's permanent. Yeah, because it has many instances. Many generalities are permanent. Many generalities are impermanent. Yeah, like the organic rice and the non-organic rice. So the generality itself is permanent. Yeah. But the question that is asked by the challenger usually is, can we find something which is both, for instance? Yeah. So if it is a generality, can it be a cause, or is it necessarily a cause, and so on? Yeah. Yeah. So what would be your perversion? If it is a generality, it's necessarily a cause. It may be a cause, or it's necessarily a cause. Sorry, I disturbed your reasoning. But the challenger is here for that, yeah. Anyway. And Palavila, you had a 3P as well, yeah. So maybe you can.
I agreed. Actually, I was thinking along the same lines as It's I
Yeah.
think if it is a generality cannot be a cause.
Okay.
A cause can be a generality.
Okay. So can be. So if we say can be, yeah, the perversion should be, it has to be that, yeah. Yeah.
Oh
If it,
yeah. So a
like
cause is necessarily a generality. Yeah.
if it is a cause, it's necessarily a generality. Okay. And if it is a generality, it's not necessarily a cause. And Zingrula, you had 4P, so maybe you could give a counter example. You are the challenger helper.
Can you repeat the perversion?
In German,
We are
please.
looking for a generality that is no repeat, sorry.
What was it?
If a generality may be a cause, but a cause is necessarily a generality. Is that fair?
If it is a cause, it's necessarily a generality, but if it is a generality, it's not necessarily a cause.
We're looking for something that is not a cause, but a generality. For example, no.
That is a cause. Yeah, if it is a cause, it's necessarily a generator. Yeah, so that is a cause, but it's not a generator. Yeah, or counter example. Yeah, yeah. The challenger
But
is.
again, if it is a
Sorry.
if it is a cause, Palavila, what did you say? If it is a
I'm
cause,
saying if we're looking for a cause that is
no,
not
you
a
said if it is
generality.
a cause, it's necessarily a generality.
Yeah, that's the
Yes.
point.
So we're looking for something that is a cause, but not a generality. Yeah, I had this, I was thinking about this, the set of pot and pillar.
Aha.
Yeah.
It
Because
follows
yeah.
that the subject, the set, pot and pillar is not a cause because it's not a generality. Or you could say the way around. It follows that the subject, the set, pot and pillar is a generality because it is a cause. Yeah, because the perversion is like this. Yeah? If it is a cause, it's necessarily a generality. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it follows that the subject, the two pot and pillar, yeah, the set of the two pot and pillar is permanent, is not a cause.
Oh, is it? And it's in.
That's a
Okay, okay,
consequence.
Pallavi has to answer.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not
Yeah,
answering.
exactly. Sorry, when like for instance, For instance, okay. For instance, someone would say, like, if you find, in the text, kachigna, yeah, someone would say, yeah, a defender, a hypothetical defender would say, if it is a cup, it's necessarily a blue cup. So what would be your counter consequence? It follows that the subject, a red cup, is a blue cup because it is a cup. Yeah. Yeah, because we have to make to shake to make the point of view a bit shaky, yeah, in a counter with a counter consequence. Yeah. But this consequence is not true, of course, yeah. When we check Nagarjuna's consequences, yeah, to the Vaibhashika and Swatrantika, yeah, he doesn't believe himself in those consequences, yeah. Okay, so yeah, if we say it follows, for instance, yeah, if it is a color, it's necessarily white, then what would be your consequence?
It follows red is white.
Exactly, yes, okay. So here we have, if it is a cause, it's necessarily a generality. So it follows that subject the two, pattern pillar, is a generality because it is a cause. Yeah? No? Okay, drop it. Sorry.
But I don't agree.
Exactly. So then if I say, okay, it follows that the subject the two, pattern pillar, is a generality, you would say why? Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, then I would say it is not a generality because.
because it is not permanent.
Mm. Mm. Okay.
Right? Because a pot and pillar is not permanent, so it is not a generality.
Okay. So it follows that it has to be permanent in order to be a generality, yeah? So it follows that if it is a cause, it's necessarily not a generality. It's the opposite perversion, as we said before, yeah? Okay.
No,
Okay.
no.
Let's try to recap. Yeah, we'll try to recap. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we are trying to compare cause and generality. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, and the perversion would be if it is a cause, it's necessarily a generality. Okay. Would you accept that any collection generality is a gross form? As we learn the definition of a collection generality, yeah? Any collection
Yes.
generality is a
Except-
gross form
Exactly.
Except.
made of its many parts, yeah. And the subject, the two, part and pillar, the set of the two is a gross form. So it's necessarily a cause because it's form. Yeah, form has to be impermanent, yeah.
Except, but it is not a generality because there are not many instances.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the counter example. Yeah, it follows that the subject, the two, part and pillar, the set of the two, is a generality because it's a cause, because it's form. Yeah.
Also, it can be a set of any two, or does it have to be specific as a cause for a certain thing? For example, sun and seed.
Yes, for instance, we need two impermanent phenomena. Yeah, yeah, because
Any
yeah, exactly. Two contradictory impermanent phenomena. They have to be contradictory. Yeah, because if we say the set, the two functioning thing and impermanent, yeah, the set of the two is a generality. Yeah, because pot is at the center, is an instance of functioning thing and impermanent, and we are as well instances of functioning thing and impermanent. But if we have two impermanent phenomena which are contradictory, then the set of the two cannot have any instance. Nothing can be both. Yeah,
okay, yeah.
very good. We could have said the subject, the five aggregates. Oh, the subject, the set of the five aggregates, it follows that it is a generality because it's a cause. It's necessarily impermanent.
Mhm.
Yeah, the aggregates are necessarily impermanent, but nothing is the five aggregates. Yeah, because nothing can be form and non-form, consciousness and not consciousness, and non-associated compositional factor, and discrimination, and so on. Yeah? Ah. Fantastic. Okay, so it seems that if it is a cause, it's not necessarily a generality.
Yes, accept.
Okay, very good, because there are many causes which are sets of contradictory impermanent phenomena, eh? And
Mhm.
they have no instances, yeah, of course. Okay, so maybe it would be the other perversion, yeah, the way around. If it is a generality, it's necessarily a cause.
If it is generality, it is necessary a cause.
Okay. Very good. So it
Why?
follows.
Not agree.
Ah, Zengrunla, a counterexample, a consequence with clapping hands very
Oh,
strongly.
okay. It follows space is not a generality. No, yeah. Oh, it's not a cause. How do I have to say? No, it's not. No, it's not a cause. It follows. No, how do you say? No, I forgot.
Space
The
is not a
perversion
cause.
is the perversion is if it is a generality, it's necessarily a cause.
Okay, so it follows space is a cause because it's a generality.
Mm.
Space is a cause because it is a general. But space, what, non-composite or composite?
Aha.
Why?
With regard to that point, I would like to apologize. Last time I made a mistake because I didn't hear properly a question maybe from Palavila. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, uncompounded space is permanent. Yeah, but compounded space is impermanent. Yeah. It's an NACP. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't hear properly. Sometimes it happens. Yeah. I'm getting old. Sorry.
And space in the east? Space,
Yeah,
space
and
in the
compounded
west?
space in the east. Yeah.
I can say uncompounded space in the
Mm.
east. Is there compounded space in the east and uncompounded space in the east? Does it not exist? I don't know actually the difference between.
Yeah. Okay. So here, when we speak about a permanent generality, yeah, uncompounded space is a generality. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, is a generality because.
Because it's a phenomenon that encompasses its manifestations.
Yes.
Maybe uncompounded space in the east, does it work?
Yes, uncompounded
Uncompounded space
space
in the work.
in the east. It follows it is not a generality.
No, it's also a generality.
Ah, it is. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
And it follows it is not a cause.
I agree on that.
Okay, it's not a cause because.
Because it's a permanent phenomenon.
Okay, it follows that if it is permanent, it's necessarily not a cause.
Except
But the Vaibhashika would accept that space is a JGU, is an active cause, yeah?
I disagree.
The space is the JGU, the active cause of the pot. Yeah, they would say, Bumpa dans zeta de kyanyin bumpa kewala geg mi jepa yanyin be shitun do mi pade. Yeah, that which is observed as being a common base between it's a different substance from pot and it doesn't impede the production of pot. So it is an active cause. Still, it is permanent. Okay.
Why? No, why? Because it's a mere absence. It's a negation, no?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. If we leave aside the Vaibhashika, yes, in the Sotrantika, we would accept that space is permanent. Yeah. And is a generality. Yeah. So if it's a generality, it's not necessarily a cause.
Space or uncompounded space?
Yeah. Usually when we say space in general, we say uncompounded space. Usually, yeah.
Okay, and what
Usually.
does compounded space mean?
Yeah, it's one of the aggregates, it's an NACP, non-associated compositional factor, like a space in the nostrils, a space in the, I don't know, in my head, for instance, if I have a bubble in my sometimes, or space in my lungs and so on. So in that case, because it belongs to the aggregates, it's necessarily impermanent. Yeah, all the aggregates are necessarily impermanent. Yeah, so it has to be impermanent, but it's not form and it's not consciousness. So it's an NACP, non-associated composition factor. Yeah. when we speak about the 6 elements like Arya Nagarjuna and Raja Parikata Ratnavali, when he's checking if the person is one with the 6 elements, so we have earth, water, wind, earth, water, fire, air, and space and consciousness. Yeah. So if we speak about the element space, it has to be impermanent. Yeah. So it has to be a compounded space. Yeah? Okay. Very good. But usually when we say space, it's to refer to the uncompounded space. Yeah. But it's good to precise. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So it seems that both perversions don't function. Yeah. If it is a cause, it's necessarily a generality. So some collection generalities are not generalities. Still, they are causes. Yeah. Yeah. And if we say if it is a generality, it's necessarily a cause, then we have existent, yeah, or generality, yeah, or uncompounded space, and so on. Many permanent phenomena are generalities, yeah. Do you agree with that? Okay, so it follows that it's not 3P, yeah, because if we cannot posit a perversion in one way or the other.
Hmm.
But didn't we say that generality is a phenomenon that encompasses and is permanent? Isn't
Yes,
permanent part of generality?
exactly.
And a cause is definitely impermanent.
Yes, exactly.
So how can that cannot be a pervasion that it has a contradicting.
Yeah, because yeah, we can say that generality itself is necessarily not a cause because it's permanent, yeah, because there are many generalities which are permanent, many generalities which are impermanent. So generality itself is the appearing object to thought consciousness, so it's permanent. But if it is a generality, it's not necessarily permanent. Like I never remember the name of animal in Hindi, sorry. I don't have good imprints with Hindi. What was it? Bhagwan? No.
Janwar.
January. January. Like January. Was it? But no, with no E, January. Okay. January itself is permanent. Is sorry, is neutral.
Yeah.
Yes, but if it is a genre, it's not necessarily neutral. It can be feminine or masculine. Yeah. So that's exactly the same reason. Yeah. So generality itself is permanent, but if it is a generality, it's not necessarily permanent.
Yeah. So then, but why doesn't the pervasion then stop us from going into the instance? Because we have to
Yes,
say,
exactly. Because we are checking, yeah, the way to posit the perversion is very precise. Yeah. If it is A, it's necessarily B. But if it is B, it's not necessarily A. Yeah. So that would be if it is a generality, it's necessarily a cause. No, because generality itself, for instance, is a generality, but it's not a cause. Or instance is a generality, but it's not a cause. Or existent, or there are so many permanent phenomena which are generalities, but they are not causes. Yeah?
okay, so we have to give an example that is both or not. And if we find an example that goes both ways, it doesn't matter if the category is still,
Yes,
yeah, you
exactly.
have to, you're already disproving it. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Very good. Okay.
Can you say again the examples for something which is generality but not cause?
Yes, for instance, so we have generality itself. Generality is a generality. Yeah, because it has many instances. Yeah. Okay, and many generalities are impermanent and many generalities are permanent. Yeah? Okay, so we have also existent. Existent is a permanent generality. We have uncompounded space, definition, definiendum.
But uncompounded space, oh,
Yeah,
uncompounded space is permanent, so it is not a cause. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, if it is permanent, it cannot be a cause. Yeah, cause and permanent. How many P? How many? What is the difference?
Contradictory.
Contradictory, exactly, because there is nothing which it can be both permanent and a cause, yeah? Wow, fantastic. So it seems that we have 4P between cause and generality, no?
Hmm.
Yeah? Wow, very good. Okay, do you still have some time, or is it a bit too much for today?
Can stay.
Yeah,
We
just
have 10 more minutes, and also we started late, so if everybody has time, maybe we can.
yeah, we can try to review a little bit more. Okay. Wow, very good. Then, because I didn't prepare so much, so just improvisation, yeah? Okay. Okay. Let's try. Mm. Mhm.
Christopher, can I ask a
Yes,
question?
please. Yes.
So with this retreat, many things have been
I can
coming up.
imagine.
So I wanted to do the pervasion between, or the relationship between functionality and emptiness
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Of intrinsic.
of intrinsic
Functionality.
existence according to Prasangika.
Okay. What do you mean by functionality? Like able to perform a function, or that which
Yes.
has the function? Okay. Able to perform function and emptiness of inherent existence, yeah? Between among contradictory equivalent 3P and 4P? Yeah, let's check. Let's check. You have 2 hours. Okay.
Probably not get it during this lifetime.
Yeah, functionality, yeah. So it means impermanent, able to perform function, yeah. Okay. And emptiness, yeah, emptiness of inherent existence. Yeah. Very good, according to the Prasangika, yeah, very precise. Wow.
Well, it has, of course, because we are learning that there has to be a harmony between the two. So it has to be equivalent according to Prasangika.
Ah, really? Okay,
That's how I understand it.
okay. Mm. Yeah, we tend to think that when we hear about, for instance, the Hridaya Sutra, yeah, the Heart Sutra, yeah, when Arya Avalokiteshvara says, Zu Tompa Tompani Zu Zuli Tompani Jemain, Tompani Legenzu Jemaino, yeah, form is empty, emptiness is form, there is no other emptiness from form, and there is no form other than emptiness. And in one Sanskrit version, I found one sentence more, yeah. Emptiness itself is form. Form itself is emptiness. Yeah, there is one more sentence in Sanskrit in one version I found on YouTube. Okay, so we tend to think that the pot, for instance, and its emptiness are one. Yeah, or even equivalent. Yeah, but if it is pot, it's necessarily not emptiness of inherent existence. Yeah? It is empty, but it is not the emptiness of inherent existence. Emptiness is permanent. Yeah?
Mhm.
And is a mere negation, yeah? But pot is not a mere negation and is impermanent, yeah? Or form in general, yeah? Or functionality, yeah, even, yeah. Okay, or we could say impermanent or able to perform function, yeah. So when Arya Avalokiteshvara says that, yeah, he means that they are one entity. Yeah, that if you point towards emptiness of inherent existence of form, then you necessarily point towards the form. Yeah, and if you point towards the form, you necessarily point towards the emptiness of the inherent existence of that form. But it doesn't mean that they are one. Yeah? If they are one, then or even equivalent, it follows that if we see a pot, we see emptiness of inherent existence of that pot. Yeah. Everybody would be an Arya since the
But
beginning of times, yeah?
But don't we, with inferential cognition, we understand that there is emptiness of that pot with that pot. And we see
Exactly.
that it is cause and condition. And when that cause and condition goes away, the emptiness of that pot will also go away. So it is
Yes.
impermanent.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, that could be a kind of argument, yeah. So, it follows that a mere absence can be impermanent.
A mere absence of the object can be impermanent.
So it follows that the subject emptiness is impermanent. It follows that the subject absence of pot on the table and so on is impermanent and so on. Yeah. So it means that, yeah, when the pot exists, its emptiness exists. It doesn't mean that its emptiness is produced. Yeah, it cannot be
When it
produced.
is produced,
Yeah, the
it
pot,
coexists with
they
the
coexist, exactly. They coexist, yeah. But one cannot produce the other, and it's not because one is produced that the other has to be produced. Yeah, they are one entity, but they are not equivalent. Yeah, they are contradictory. Yeah, pot or functionality, we could say, and emptiness of inherent existence are contradictory. Yeah, the two truths are necessarily contradictory.
Okay.
But they can be one entity, yeah? Like in the Mahayana schools, like the Prasangika, the ultimate truth of the pot and the conventional truth of the pot are one entity. Because if one disappears, the other cannot survive, yeah? Yeah, you cannot have the emptiness of the cup when the cup doesn't exist anymore, yeah? And you cannot have the cup without its emptiness, yeah? The cup has necessary to be, cannot exist without being empty of inherent existence, yeah? Yeah, because it's a conventional truth. Yeah. Does it work?
So, you're saying emptiness of a cup and functionality of a cup, they are one.
They are one entity.
They are one entity.
Yes, they are.
But
They are more than different. They are contradictory. Yeah? They are contradictory, but they are one entity. Like we can find other illustrations, like the person, one person, and five aggregates. Yeah, they are contradictory. Yeah, yeah. One person cannot be five, and the five aggregates cannot be one. Yeah. So one person and his or her aggregates are necessarily contradictory, but they are one entity because you cannot find the one without the others. Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. So emptiness and functionality are necessarily contradictory, but still they are one entity because you cannot find any functionality without its emptiness. Yeah. In that very nature of that functionality. Yeah. Yeah. Does it work?
So Buddha can see two contradictory things in one moment, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because yeah, for us, because we have the cognitive obstruction, the cognitive obstructions, obstruction has some kind of function. Yeah, it impedes our direct perception to see both truth at the same time. Yeah, like for the non-Buddha, like for instance, an Arya, which is not a Buddha. This Arya either perceives directly a conventional truth or an ultimate truth. Yeah, they have to alternate. Yeah, when they are in the meditative equipoise on ultimate truth, on emptiness, they see directly emptiness, but not the conventional truth. And when they are outside of that meditative equipoise, they see directly conventional truth, but not ultimate truth. Yeah, only a Buddha can see both truths at the same time. And also another point for the cognitive obstruction is that we tend to think or to believe that the two truths are separate. Yeah, they are contradictory, but they are not separate. Yeah, it's very different. Yeah, they are necessarily one entity.
But what I can't understand is how do you separate it out in your meditation? Because You cannot separate it out. A blue sky is together. Like you can't say, oh, let me take out the blue and now I'll just see the sky. You cannot do it. You will see it together, and you will, I think, like that also, and that's why I'm wondering, you have to remove your senses and not see the sky. Like you have to close everything in your meditation and not see the object at all to see emptiness. But then you're not seeing emptiness of the sky. You're not seeing emptiness of blue sky. You're shutting all your senses down in meditative equipoise.
Yeah, in some, yeah, in one sense, the we could say that the senses are still there. They are still operating in one sense, but nothing enters in the field of the direct perception. Nothing else than emptiness enters in the field of direct perception, apprehending emptiness. Yeah, for a non-Buddha. For a non-Buddha, for any Arya which is not a Buddha, that person, when that person is realizing directly emptiness, no conventional truth is appearing. Yeah, still you can have your eyes open and your ears functioning and so on, but your mental consciousness will not apprehend them.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
almost like you're in an awake coma.
In one
And
sense, yeah. In one sense, yeah.
Your sensory consciousnesses have shut down. Your mental consciousness is alone awake. But but the thing is, that's why you cannot see conventional, because you are not participating in any sensory information. Your mind is only alone with no information. Like when you faint or something, you get no information.
Yeah, no conventional information, yeah, because that mind has to realize ultimate truth anyway.
Yeah.
Without telling, oh, this is ultimate truth, this is my mind, and so on. No, nothing at
Yeah,
all.
there is no distinguishing.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, the post-meditative state could say, oh, then like for instance, Arya Nagarjuna is in post-meditative equipoise. In post-meditative state, and he would say, oh, that was emptiness, yeah, that was the existence of emptiness, yeah. But even during the direct realization of emptiness, Arya Nagarjuna could not say, this is the existence of emptiness, because even existence of emptiness is a conventional truth.
Yeah. A thought. Yeah, it comes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a thought, but there is no thought at all. Yeah, that's why ultimate truth is defined for the Mahayana schools, phenomenon which is realized directly in a non-dualistic manner. There is no dualistic appearance. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Wow.
And what does it mean, dualistic appearance?
It can mean different things, yeah, like for the Chittamatra, for the Madhyamaka, and so on. For the Prasangika, usually there are three which are mentioned in the Prasangika, which explain the sutra, but not the Tantra. For the sutra, they would say, okay, we have the dualistic appearance of inherent existence, dualistic appearance of a conventional truth, and dualistic appearance of subject and object, yeah, which are separate in one sense, yeah. So in meditative equipoise, realizing directly emptiness, there is none of the three. Yeah. And for a Buddha, for the omniscient mind of a Buddha, which realizes the conventional truth, of course, there are two dualistic appearances, yeah. Not the third one, not the inherent, not the dualistic appearance of inherent existence, but there is a dualistic appearance of a conventional truth and object and subject, which are separate, yeah.
So the Buddha has destroyed inherent existence while seeing subject-object.
So he cannot destroy it because it doesn't exist, but he has he has no appearance. Yeah, the appearance of inherent existence on his own perspective, yeah, cannot exist at all. But as we said before, a Buddha is seeing as we see things, yeah, because he's omniscient. So when I see a pot, this pot appears to me as inherent existence, and this appearance of inherent existence is a phenomenon. So a Buddha has to see that through my eyes.
Yes.
But from his own perspective, there is no appearance of inherent existence at all. Yeah. And
Yes.
for his mind, which is at the same time realizing emptiness, there is no dualistic appearance at all.
Yeah. Because he can quickly understand the causes and conditions. Oh, Pallavi is seeing a red cup in Christophe's hand because they are sitting over. Like everything comes together inherent. I mean, cause and conditions are very quickly established for him when
Yes,
he can see
exactly.
the
Yeah.
side vision.
Yes, but even for that omniscient mind, there are many debates. If you read, for instance, that book, Omniscience and the Rhetoric of Reason, yeah, it's a
Okay.
beautiful book, yeah, and they explain the Bodhisattva Shantarakshita and Acharya Kamalashila's Tattva Samgraha and Tattva Samgraha Panjika, and they debate with non-Buddhist schools in order to prove the omniscience. But there are many debates, even among the Buddhist world. Yeah, what is omniscience? Yeah, so but yeah, if we accept that
Christopher,
it's
if I buy any more books on the my house will show my ignorance because I don't understand any of it. It's just like, here's all the stuff Pallavi does not know because I have books.
well, that's very interesting. Yeah, still, yeah. Then you never get bored. You necessarily have something to read when you have free time, if you have free time. Okay, so I hope it's not more confusing than previously, but then we can discuss that. Yeah, I guess that Vendula has much more, much more clarifications to give, yeah, than me. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. Take care. Take care. Yeah. See you next time, and enjoy. And for the sake of all the beings, as usual. Yeah. The dedications. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck, guys. Have fun at the retreat.
Yes.
Bye.